get a better understanding of this whole personal foul thing? And he responded, quite honestly, no. The one that they called out on them, the guys in tackling around the leg, the guys is tackling around his legs, and he had his head to the side for the most part. I actually sent that in to ask them, why was this called? And then you see other places, because I go through the tape and I'm saying, I wonder if this was a penalty. I wonder if this is a penalty. I think it's getting very hard. And so they gave him a response. They sent him the tape, and they looked at the tape, and from according to the explanation of the league, and he's like, I still don't know. And like they give it to the players, and like, we don't know.
Oh man,
like we don't know. So
what do you think, G-Baby?
Yeah, what do you think, man? Like,
I think it'll get resolved. They'll fix it. It's a tough fix. Because then what about replay?
Well, they shouldn't have touched it if they got to fix it now. Like, it was fine before. We haven't even seen it in replay yet. Where, like, let's say you made one call, and then when you watch the replay, this was, like, intentionally hitting them.
Well, I don't ever think penalties will ever go into replay, because they don't do that in any other leagues, rarely, as far as the penalty is concerned. When a penalty has been struck down, usually they keep the penalty. They usually just want to look at possession and stuff in that nature. But as far as, like, tackling, I understand where they're going with this. They want to make this a safer league, but they still got to understand that this is a league where you have guys flying at 25 miles an hour at over 200 something pounds, so they're hitting you like a freight train. So, but the people they should have consulted with, first and foremost, are the players, because they're the ones that are obviously tackling. Right. So they should have talked to the players, and that's one of the big problems with these players. With the players on this new rule is that they were never consulted. They were just consulted by people looking. They weren't involved in the game. So a lot of them, they're willing to try and compromise with the rule, but as long as they can have input.
But I heard like Von Miller got interviewed, and I heard a couple interviews already from the players, and they understand that it's possible.
No, they understand.
They understand that that's how they practice.
That's not
and
what I'm...
so it's hard.
No,
that's the
I'm
one
not,
thing.
That's not what I'm getting at.
There's going to be a middle point, is what I'm trying to get at. That the referees will understand. They'll get better at calling it. A lot of this has to do with the refs. This is all new to the refs as well.
No, that's what.
So they don't know.
Yeah, no, G-Baby, that's what I'm trying to say.
And so it'll get better. I think that as long as it's going to make everything safe, is my understanding that everybody has the same thought. Even the players is like, well, if this is what scientifically makes more sense. That we shouldn't hit ourselves in this one spot. Because remember, you're protecting the hitter, not the offensive guy.
No, but what the
in
problem...
this case, did you know that?
You're protecting the what now?
You're protecting you're not protecting the receiver. You're not protecting the guy getting hit. You're protecting the guy who makes the hit.
From what?
From the guy just broke his back 2 years ago. He just started walking like 6 months ago, maybe.
Ryan Shazier.
That. I mean, from that, bro, like if you hit, if you're launching, you're going 25 miles per hour. I'm going 24 miles per hour.
You're and 50, you're launching. You're impacting at 50.
And you're connecting here, and your back straight, your back goes, because there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
And so you get paralyzed. You have potential to get paralyzed. You have, so you're actually protecting more the defender than the actual guy getting hit. Everybody has to remember
the
that
offender.
Also. Yeah. So, that's the whole thing. Is
what was your point, Josh? Because it sounded like you had a point.
Well, I mean, my point was more on the lines of, I understand that it's, they're trying to make it safe. And I've played football for most of high school. Okay. And I've dealt with concussions. I know how the hits are supposed to be done. Yeah. But my thing is, and I'm with the players in this sense, is that they should have been consulted from the first and foremost.
Well, I think from where I'm standing, from my perspective, just so at least they know what the fuck is what, right?
Yeah, exactly. That way they can go in and they can, I mean, who knows better how to tackle than themselves? And like this instance, this guy, the actual player, the tackler, he was actually trying to protect himself because the other guy was lowering himself. So he was trying to get lower, but the other player, he got called for it. So that was this instance. He got called for something that wasn't in his control.
I don't know how many players are in the NFL.
Let's see, 53 players a team. There's 32 teams, like over 1,000 players, maybe even more.
Over 1,000 players.
Yeah.
So you expect me to fucking adhere to 1,000 different ways to hit?
I'm not saying
that's what happens in sports,
but that's not.
That's what makes everybody great. Is that because the great ones do it just a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
And so how can you measure that? So because if you're gonna tell me that Brian Dawkins never fucking got hurt, never hurt anybody, he knocked people out, but he never hurt anybody because he was superhuman. That guy would fly. That's what we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. Brian Dawkins was a great strong safety for the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right.
Great guy, great player. He just got into the Hall of Fame this year, so big ups to that guy. He's a big player. Mm-hmm. He never hurt anybody. He would always, and that was what made him great, is that he was just that fast. Mm-hmm. So now the problem is that not everybody's that great, and so that's where you have to, like, everybody has to be on the same page, because it's hard, and there's no way you're gonna ask 1,000 players because they all do it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to get 1,000 different answers, potentially. How are you going to... So now nothing's going to happen. So this is like a first step. That's what I'm saying. They're talking about it. The refs know the problems. The league knows the problems. I think they'll figure it out. I think they really will. Yeah. They've been putting rules in for the longest time. Mm-hmm. Look at the QB thing. The knee... The Brady rule, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can't land on their knees. If you land anywhere near the quarterback's leg within a fucking foot, they'll call a flag on you. Mm-hmm. In the 90s, that was thought of as impossible because people were like, nah, I still need to reach.
Yeah.
And they told them, you'll still be able to reach. It's going to change a little bit. And it happened. They implemented it, and that's been gone. Quarterbacks' knees do not...
But you see...
nobody's gotten hurt like that since.
Yeah, but GBB, in that
and we've seen quarterback plays soar.
I understand that, but in that instance, you're only focusing on one particular section of where not to tackle. So, but in this section, they're not talking about section.
I know. I'm just saying that I trust that they'll get it right.
Yeah,
I trust it.
But the problem is like a lot of these players, like Richard Sherman, for instance, he tweeted out recently, there's no make adjustments to the way you tackle. Even in a perfect formed tackle, the body is led by the head. The rule is idiotic and should be dismissed immediately. When you watch rugby players tackle, they still lead by their head. So it will be flag football soon. And Eric Weddle responded, the fact that rule changes are made without the thought of asking players who play is baffling to me.
The thing about rugby, though, is that they don't have the padding.
No.
So they're not going to fly as hard as possible.
That was another alternative. Why don't we just take away the pads? Mm-hmm. And I mean, then
self-policing will happen. Yeah.
Because you also got to think about it too. Those pads are also creating more force. I mean, they're creating more force in this tackle. So if
it's making a car out of you.
That would be
you're getting hit by.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
If there was a league like that, where like it would still have to be safe, but. You know what I mean? Because you need protection.
Yeah.
People are still coming at you hard. Or are you talking about just straight up just...
Like rugby?
No, like rugby has like they barely have just pads on the thigh.
Like shin guards
and just
and
like little
that,
shoulder, like little tiny shoulder pads underneath those polos. But that's it. It's pretty much you're just
in case it happened to fall on the ground. Yeah. But it's not to protect against those massive hits.
So I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll get it fixed. I don't think it's going to be fixed this year because they can't make any rule changes until the following year. Mm-hmm. So the way the rule is now, it's going to be for the rest of the year.
If you just do the history of the NFL back when they were just doing the leatherheads, and then when they introduced the pads and the helmets, dude, the action just skyrocketed.
Oh yeah, because you had
people like slamming into each other, and then you can't not love that crack of like when they when you're live there at the game.
As a purist, you love that smack, you love the sound, but then you think, oh shit, someone actually got hurt. But back then when they just put those stuff on and they felt like superhuman because like, dude, I could hit somebody and I won't feel the full force of it. So it's like nowadays, it's getting crazier. So I mean, we'll see what happens. But in some lighter news, the Dodgers, they had a nice series against the Mariners up in Seattle.
I heard about that.
They rocked them for one game, beating them 11-1. Manny Machado hit 2 home runs that game. I believe Max Muncy hit a couple dingers that game too. Kike hit one game. It was dope. It was dope, right? So you thought, yes, Dodgers are back. Dodgers are back, right? Right, Josie?
Sure, man.
Wrong.
Sure. What?
Next game.
I am shocked and appalled.
They lose the next game. Bases loaded.
Yeah.
Pitcher box.
Why? Like, so how did he balk?
So let me explain what a balk is. So what a balk is, like normally in a pitcher's stance, when you see them have the the ball behind their back, they're staring at the catcher, and then getting their sign. Right when they get their sign, that move when they look back, they have to just either fully commit to pitching or make a move towards the base.
Okay.
They can't take their foot off the pad at that point. You can't take it off anymore unless you fake a move. So,
once it's on.
Yeah, once you have the foot on the pad, that's it. You gotta go to your pitch.
Okay.
Well, he saw the guy at third base move a little bit more, and then he stepped his foot off the pad completely. And they called game.
Bases were loaded. They called game. Bach. Done.
That's it. Oh, shit.
Hey, but then they fucking won by 13 right after that, right?
No, they won the day before, 11-1.
Then didn't they win last night?
Did they? So what do you know about that?
Oh no, exactly what he said. Like he just balked. Like
no. The next game, the 13 whatever.
I thought they won.
They lost last night.
They lost last night.
They lost last night to the Cardinals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
But not the date.
So where are they at? Any idea? Any
Okay.
idea where they're at in the standings right now?
Right now they're actually 68 and 59. So in the standings, out of the wild card, because we're coming up on the World Series now. We're coming up on playoffs. I'll give you an update right now where we're at here. All right.
They're looking great though. They look good. Yeah, they look good. Playoffs are coming.
They're like the 9th ranked team right now.
People are playing. Matt Kemp. He still has to prove a little things to me, but he came out of nowhere. I thought he was done.
He started off great.
I was very skeptical when you were telling me about
it. Guys are coming back from injuries, big guys.
He started off great.
He got into a fight though, right?
Yeah, he did. He got suspended for getting in a fight with the Giants.
But he's looking good, and then Turner should be coming back.
Turner should be. I think he is back.
Yeah.
He's back already. He's already back.
So
but they're right now. They're not looking good in the standings. They're actually out of the wild card at the moment. So, I mean, actually, I'm sorry. They are fighting the wild card right now with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So they're 6-7. They're 68 and 59. They're losing right now to the Cardinals. So I mean, we'll see. Right now, they're on a little bit of a slump. Really, Manny Machado and like a few others are kind of doing good. Kershaw, he's slowly starting to get back into his rhythm. Hopefully he'll get into his rhythm by the time playoffs comes around. But I mean, it's not looking like a lock as it did in the past.
Usually it's the opposite.
Yeah, yeah, it's not looking like the lock like it has been the last few years. Okay. I mean,
maybe it just takes another year to rebuild and come back.
You know what? We may blow it up at the end of the year.
Yeah,
because they may think about re-signing Manny Machado and letting Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, and Kershaw walk. Yeah, that's a possibility because Kershaw still wants a max deal. They don't have the money for that either. And then Machado, I mean, he's a once in a lifetime generational talent. You got to give him a chance. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Seager's coming back from Tommy John. So I mean, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked. More on fantasy football. Everyone's drafts are starting to come around. Usually it happens last few weeks of preseason. The big problem right now with preseason is like a lot of the, starters aren't practicing at all or playing, or they're practicing, but they're not playing in the games. And a lot of the teams are holding them back deliberately so that way they're fresh for the regular season.
All right.
So like you can't really tell what they're going to look like as far as drafting them, So you just think, okay, based off of what they did last year.
Why? Training camp there.
Oh, yeah? No, I'll never step foot in Oxnard. You know what training camp's there, right? Fuck the Cowboys, dude.
Damn.
Yeah,
wow.
Never, ever,
all
ever,
right,
ever.
There's another one down the street.
Chill out.
Never mind.
Having a good time here.
Sorry.
Damn.
The fire.
Jesus Christ!
I got scared.
But I actually had a little game for you, G baby.
I was like, does he or does he not have a gun underneath the table?
No, fuck that.
Does he or does he not have a gun?
You don't have to know the truth.
No, you don't have to know the truth.
That's better than you don't.
G baby, I actually have a little game for you, for both of us.
Oh,
so,
shit. Okay.
Joe C, in front of you, what you have is a mock draft of a 12-team fantasy football league.
Okay, what am I looking at here?
What it should be the next page.
Oh, the next page.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, cool.
And then it goes into the next one as well.
Awesome.
All right. So what we're gonna do here is the name of the rules of the game are Josie's gonna give each of us a turn, and we're gonna try and name off one of the